That's my
Is it
that's my Joker, my Heath Ledger Joker impression.
I guess they're coming out with a second one for Joaquin Phoenix.
Are they?
That's what I had saw.
I didn't know that. Just kind of on the topic of movies in general. I watched RoboCop recently. Like the original one?
Yeah, I was about to say not the what was it? The other one came out like 2016 or something, 2015?
Yeah, that sounds right. And it made me realize something. I miss 80s movies like tropes. Like, in particular, the toxic vat.
Yeah. Like the slow motion fall into the toxic vat.
There was always, if you needed a guy to be a superhero, throw him in a vat.
Yeah, or supervillain.
Or supervillain, throw him in a vat. You need the supervillain to die, vat.
Yep, throw him in a vat.
Toxic vat. It was like the best, like writing.
And they're always open. Just
open on the top, like with like a catwalk going directly over it.
It's like, you think OSHA would really allow that?
Well, the reason that made me think of RoboCop in particular is, towards the end there, where he's hunting down the Red Foreman gang.
Oh yeah.
Because Red Foreman plays like the.
Oh yeah, in the old school one, yeah, he does, doesn't he? I wonder if he's gonna stick his foot up his ass.
Yeah, you always like expecting him to say like dumbass, There's a scene where a dude's like trying to run down RoboCop in like a van, and he crashes into a big like container that just says toxic waste on the side, and it's like made out of paper mache. He crashes into it, and like all the toxic waste blows into the van that he was in. He comes out the back of the van, and he's like all mutated, just like instantly, right? I mean, this is like a steel mill. So what is that? Why do they have that? And so he's like, his like face is like melting off, and like his fingers are like falling off his bones and everything, and he's like, doing this thing. There's a scene like a couple seconds after that where he kind of like he's like bumbling around, and like he bumps into one of the other henchmen.
Yeah. And
whoever was playing that henchman he never saw the guy with all his like prosthetics.
Yeah. And
everything, and like all his makeup.
Yeah.
Because I wanted his reaction to be genuine. And so the dude bumps into him, and he goes, "Woo!"
Oh. What was it? Is the newer one, isn't it like, he's in Detroit? Is that where RoboCop is in the second one?
I think that's where he is in the first one.
Yeah, and I think
sure.
Was it in the second one he like becomes RoboCop like after they like shoot him with that shotgun like 17 times. He's like laying on the ground, they're like shooting him.
Yeah.
His body's like flopping around.
He's like long dead. The new one that had come out, I guess it was 2016. Everybody was excited for a RoboCop remake, or reboot, whatever you want to call it. But it was PG-13, and everybody was like, "Well,
yeah,
how are you gonna make it RoboCop?"
It'd be like having like a PG version of like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't work. Like he would just be like letting people off, like with a warning.
Yeah, don't do it again.
It's just Judge Dredd going around giving warnings. But in the new one, like, the it's kind of hard to say that the gore and violence isn't gratuitous in the first RoboCop, because it absolutely is.
No,
and it's like you can. If you just have the violence just for shock factor, it's kind of lame to do that.
No.
It needs to serve a purpose.
No.
But in this one, there really wasn't any of that. But there is one scene where he like after he comes back online when they turn him into RoboCop.
No.
And he's like trying to tell him like, you lost your body, like in your accident or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, show me. And so he's like his RoboCop body is like in this like harness.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like the pieces of it start to come off, and he's showing RoboCop what his actual human body, what's left of it, and he's literally just a pair of lungs and a brain.
Yeah, it's like a pinky finger.
Yeah, and it's like, and he's looking at himself like in the mirror. And that is a terrifying scene.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like as existential horror as it gets.
Yeah. And it's like, how dare you? How dare you do this to me?
It's like right in the middle of a PG-13 movie. It's like they were asking him like, can we please put like one fucked up scene in there? Just one. And they're like, okay, but you better make it count.
I think one of my most favorite like there's a lot of like good like really violent movies. Like of course like all the John Wick movies, they're really really good. Mm-hmm. But still, one of my favorite movies to this day is still the original Boondock Saints.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And you talk about like unrelenting violence.
Yeah.
Where he drops that toilet off that fucking
that's so ridiculous off the top of that apartment complex, and then he jumps down to the other guy and lives. I think that was Troy Duffy's first ever movie.
I think it was. And what a fucking hit it was.
What a home run.
Yeah, home run.
I don't know if it did well in theaters or not, but
I don't think it did.
The cult following that he got from it was, that was really something.
I love the movie so much that two of my tattoos
are from the movie.
Are from the movie.
I love Willem Dafoe in that movie.
He was great in that movie.
He was fantastic in that movie. We actually watched it not long ago. And Norman Reedus he plays one of the brothers.
Yeah.
And I can never remember the name of the other guy. It was whoever the guy was that played Powder.
Yeah, what was his name? I used to remember
Patrick something. He's like actually Irish.
Yeah, it's like Patrick O'Flannery or something like that. Yeah. I know that sounds like I just made an Irish name up on the spot.
Patrick O'Flannery.
I think that's what his name is.
What was it? The name we gave Dad's old boss? Gino Linguini.
Yeah, Gino Linguini. But yes, that was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was.
That's probably one of my all-time favorites.
It's definitely one of mine. It's top 10 for sure.
Yeah, one of my most favorite parts of that whole movie is where they're waiting on the was it the Russian mob, or they're crawling through that air duct thing, and they like drop down out of the top of it or whatever, and they're like wrapped up in that rope because they've been fighting,
spinning around, shooting people. It's so ridiculous
because they're like fighting one another inside the air duct.
Yeah, like having like a brother scuffle. I didn't think that the second one was very good.
I feel like the second one, with movies like that, it's so hard to like recapture like kind of what made them great.
Yeah, it's like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
I think that the second one really tried to kind of emulate all the best parts of the first one and make the entire movie just that.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't do that.
The dark humor in the second one was just sort of like they kind of melded in. You kind of saw it coming from a mile away. It's like one of the funniest parts in the first one is where they're all sitting. It's I can't remember their names in the movie.
There's Connor
and Murph are sitting there with Rocco.
Yeah.
At that table, like eating pizza and drinking beer all night long, and then that cat's sitting on the end of the table. And he like slams his fist down on the table, and that gun goes off.
Blows the cat all over the wall. And Rocco goes, "Is it dead?" It's just a pile of guts stuck to the wall. And his girlfriend comes home. She's like, "Where's my cat?" And he's like, "I killed your cat, you druggy bitch." I thought that his directing style was it really was unique.
Yeah.
Just kind of like his shot composition and things like that. I kind of wish that Troy Duffy would have made more steps into actual like big budget films, because it would have been cool to see what he could have brought to the table.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. It's sort of like we always talk about with like metal bands and stuff like that. It's, you almost feel like if they I think a lot of people feel like if I try to take that step towards like the more corporate, like big budget type stuff, it's like then people are going to think I'm a sellout.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they end up like staying.
How dare you get paid for?
Yeah, so they end up
doing.
like staying like in that little niche like community or whatever. It's like they never like, and I guess I understand. Like you're kind of was it like Occam's razor or whatever, where it's like you're like the returns on what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like you kind of see it with like what we've talked about like with Bring Me the Horizon, where it's.
Yeah, they've stepped out of that zone several times.
Yeah.
They're like, we're just trying to do, what we feel like we want to do.
Yeah, it's our band.
Yeah, it's our right, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, it is your band, but the fans are,
Yeah, they're the people that are driving this thing.
They're not your fans. They don't belong to you.
Yeah.
So it's like if they come to you for a certain thing.
Yeah.
And you say, "Hey, we don't do that thing anymore," and they go, "Oh, well, then I'll go somewhere else."
Yeah,
you can't get mad at them.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? You're gonna have to find other people that like the new thing that you're doing.
Well, I mean, you've seen that so many different. Especially, it seems like a lot. It seems like it happens a lot with like metal. I don't know why it is. Why that always seems to be the case. It's like look at like Metallica and like all their old stuff, and then like they did like Load and Reload, and everybody's like, "Oh,
yeah,
disgusting."
Yeah.
And then they went and did Saint Anger, and everybody's like, "Ah!"
It's such a hard left turn. It's like all the fans are just like a bunch of kids in the back of the car bitching, and the dad just whips it off the interstate. Maybe you'll like this.
Oh, good. Because I remember around the time that Saint Anger came out, like that sort of when I had like discovered Metallica, and like I was listening to like all their old stuff, like Kill 'Em All and like Ride the Lightning and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like all their old CDs. Like, that was really like my first introduction to like metal. Which I think that's like a lot of people's like first introduction to like metal.
Yeah, it is. Well, they're kind of like a good kind of stepping off point because metal goes in a lot of different directions.
It's just absurd.
Yeah, it's kind of even difficult to describe what metal is to someone. Like anybody who doesn't, excuse me, anybody who doesn't listen to metal is gonna have this idea that metal is just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you can't understand what they're saying, and that is some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it is that for sure. But you have like math metal and like new metal. And
like gent.
And you have gent, and you have thrash metal, which I hate personally. So it goes in a lot of different directions.
You have like doom metalcore.
Yeah, metalcore. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in like Forrest Gump, and he's like talking about
all the different shrimp. But the kind of the running theme, of course, is the high energy, kind of aggressiveness.
Yeah,
that's pretty even throughout.
Yeah.
So if you don't want high energy aggressiveness from your music, then you're not gonna like really any kind of metal that's out there. I actually have a very soft spot in my heart for Swedish power metal.
Really?
Just because the spectacle of the entire thing is just like you go and you watch like a Swedish power metal band's like music video.
Yeah.
It's like a dude like with like long hair, and he's like shirtless on a horse, and like there's like a dragon flying in the background, and like a wizard shoots a spell, and it's just so entertaining. Just seeing everything, because you're like, this guy's vision is just, it's come true for him, you know, this music video.
Yeah, there's so many different types. I remember, because when I first kind of sort of like discovered metal, like nu metal was a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that was like back in like the late 90s, like early 2000s. So I guess you had like Korn, and then you had, which I still find it kind of hard to stick them in that like nu metal type genre, I guess. Because when I think of nu metal, I think of like Limp Bizkit, and I think of like,
it's really like kind of like hip hop and metal fusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like I think of like Linkin Park when they did like the well, really any Linkin Park, but like the CD that they did with Jay-Z? Was it Jay-Z that did?
That sounds right.
Yeah. They did Encore, I think is what they called it, or something like that.
It wasn't Meteora, was it?
No, Meteora was.
Was it Hybrid Theory?
It was Hybrid Theory, but it was a re-release of Hybrid Theory where they kind of leaned in.
Was it called Hybrid Theory Part 2?
You know, I don't know.
I might be right. It was so long ago. But yeah, that album has like every track on that album is fantastic.
Well, that's what I remember when. I don't think that I listened to Linkin Park like maybe a year after Hybrid Theory came out, or like that's when I discovered them. And I just remember every song on that album. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
like every song on this album is so fucking good.
Yeah, that was like one of the only albums that I can listen to like front to back.
Yeah,
and just enjoy the entire.
And Meteora
thing.
was pretty good too.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good CD.
Sure. Linkin Park they really found their sound. Like right out of the gate, they're like, "This is what we are, and we're doing this."
Yeah,
all the way through, and they're able to do a lot with it. Like even their even their later stuff, like Bleed It Out, and
that was a little bit of a change from like what the original. And I think the thing is too is I think some of the aggressiveness and some of the rage that is kind of required in order to write some of those songs. Like I feel like as you get older, like the testosterone,
lose the energy,
the testosterone,
your T levels go down.
Your T levels go down, so like you can't really like get that oomph in there.
You're like trying to I just can't find the energy.
So it comes off very disingenuous.
Also, too, I think that Chester's voice is such a through line.
Yeah,
like he had such a unique sound, and he was a powerful singer too. Like that dude could hold a note for a long, like scream out a note loud and long, and like I'm pretty sure he. I might have it backwards. Maybe Scott Weiland recorded Linkin Park stuff, or Chester recorded with Stone Temple Pilots. Scott Weiland died first. I'm pretty sure. So it would have been Chester then. I think Chester recorded some Stone Temple Pilots. No, I know that
Scott Stapp recorded with Stone Temple Pilots. Not Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, it was STP. Yeah, because I think he went on tour with them after Chester's death.
Yeah. I don't particularly care for Stone Temple Pilots.
They've got a couple of songs that I really, really like. Some of their older stuff, like from like the early 90s and everything.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to me how, especially too with like the early 90s, like that seems to kind of be like, it kind of bridges the gap between, you have like hair metal, like in the 80s, where you have like Poison.
God, how did I forget hair metal?
Yeah, you have
hair metal's
you
great.
have like Poison, and you have like Bon Jovi, and like all these hair metal bands, and then it takes like an abrupt turn.
Motley Crue.
Yeah, and it takes like an abrupt turn, and you have like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, STP. Like you have like all these like grunge bands, and it's like, where did that come from? And then it like takes another turn, and then it goes into like nu metal.
Yeah, and then you kind of got like Southern rock is over here, kind of just
it's interesting.
Its own thing, like Leonard Skinner, and like Kid Rock, and Kid Rock kind of he was a wild card because he like would incorporate like hip hop into his stuff.
Yeah, and
you're looking at Kid Rock like that doesn't seem like a guy that would appreciate hip hop.
No.
Mainly because of the people that like hip hop.
Yeah.
But But you mentioned Nirvana just now, and it reminded me. Well, actually, let's bring in the podcast right quick. Hello and welcome everybody to the 30th episode of the Thicc Bois podcast. We have released 10 episodes 3 times now.
There you go. It's taken us almost 2 years to do it.
Yeah. Sorry for missing last week's release. I had to go down to Florida and see my nephew graduate from high school. But them Florida people they're built different, man. Like, they live in a very rural area of Florida. Like, their town has one red light.
Oh, really?
Like, that's how rural it is. And the day after he graduated, that we went and celebrated at like these natural springs that they have down there.
I think I know around the area that you're talking about. Yeah. Off the I-10 corridor.
No, it's about an hour outside of Gainesville.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Like square in the middle of Florida, like any beach is like 5 hours away.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're not.
So we were like walking around down the boardwalk at these like natural springs, like all the high school kids are there and they're jumping in the water and stuff, and like there's alligators in this water. We saw one. I mean, granted, it was like a little like 2 foot long alligator, but the point remains.
Yeah, there's alligators.
There's alligators in this, and there's like this green algae. Like hair, like you remember that scene from fucking Lord of the Rings where they're walking through the bog and there's dead people under the water. That's what it looked like.
Like, don't look down or whatever it is.
Yeah, and these kids are like climbing up trees and like doing backflips off of it into the water, and they've all got mullets. I saw so many mullets down there.
I love that mullets have like made a comeback.
They're just a different breed, dude. It's crazy. But yeah, so hello and welcome everybody. Oh crap! What was I talking about? Nirvana.
Yeah.
I don't know who they were, like what show they were on, or I think it might have even been in the UK. But they were on some show and they were like the musical guest.
Yeah.
And the producers told them that they said, we're just gonna have you guys like mime you playing your song and you're gonna lip sync to your own song, the actual track.
I bet that didn't happen, did it?
Well, Nirvana didn't like that. Yeah. And because it was the 90s and people did whatever the fuck they wanted to do, they got up there and they just put on the worst fucking show. Like, the dude playing guitar, he didn't even move his hands up and down the fretboard, and he just did this, like up and down and up and down and up and down. And the dude playing bass, he's just like... He's like, I don't think he stood still through the entire performance. They were doing Teenage Spirit. It's not a really particularly high energy song. And he was just like, he looked like he was on fucking everything. Like he was like swinging his bass. Like at several points he wasn't even touching his bass. But then you had Kurt Cobain there at the microphone. And he's like singing in like this really low register.
Yeah.
And he sounds like Johnny Cash. And he's like eating the mic. He's like this close to the mic. And like the funniest thing is just like everybody in the crowd at first was like, yeah, Nirvana. Yeah. And then like as it kind of went on.
What is going on?
Like the funniest part is the cameraman didn't know who to look at. To make it look legit. He's like constantly panning between like all the different members of the band, but he couldn't stay on them for too long because you're like, well, they're not really doing anything. And then like he tried to like show the crowd. Everybody in the crowd's just kind of
like Dave Grohl's in the back near the drums, like taking a nap.
It would have been hilarious if he just sat there like this. Yeah, it was very punk.
Yeah.
Very, very, very punk is what Green Day wishes they could do.
Yeah, it's always it's interesting to kind of like look back at, especially to like the 70s, because like you had like, you would think too that like some of like the stuff in the 70s would have carried over, and you would think that really like kind of with any era, but it really doesn't, because it always kind of takes like an abrupt turn.
Yeah.
Right? So like you had like the 60s, the 60s and the 70s kind of build on one another, like I think. Like you kind of have When it might be,
there isn't
it
as
might be because like I like Jimi Hendrix so much, and I see enough of that carryover from like the late '60s, like when he was putting out all his stuff, like the acid type rock or whatever, because it was so different than like what anybody else was doing at the time. And then like from there, then you have like stuff like Creedence Clearwater Revival, and you have like it kind of you can kind of see it kind of carry over. Like, where it's not like, oh, we're not going from, like, the Beatles or, like, the Animals. Like, which the Animals, like, they're pretty good. But, like Buffalo Springfield or something like that. And then, like, you don't really see that carry over to, like, what would be, like, a big 70s band, like the Doobie Brothers or something like that.
I think that, like, you know, there's, like, the transition from, like, 60s to 70s as far as music goes was very... It
seemed more linear.
Yeah, very linear and very slow as far as like the point at which those two things became separate from one another.
Yeah.
Whereas you have like from 70s to 80s,
it was totally different.
It was like they did like a totally different thing, like a hard left turn, right?
No.
And maybe disco has a lot to do with that.
Maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
You know?
No.
But the 80s just come out of nowhere with like synthesizers and like all this like trippy shit and like I think people started realizing it was like we can kind of do whatever
you want to do. Yeah, it doesn't have to really have like a.
And because we can, obviously they didn't have the ability to reach an audience the way like you do now.
Yeah.
But they kind of were like, oh, we kind of have more like avenues to reach our audiences. So we can find a group of people that like whatever it is what we're doing. We don't have to do whatever the big thing right now. Man, movies went that same way too.
Yeah, because I guess like in that, the 80s have so many like different really, really good movies. Like, maybe not really, really good like comparatively. Like if you think about like maybe to the individual, like you have like 16 Candles and you have like all these like major motion pictures that were like super successes.
Yeah.
And like, especially like as far as like pop culture and stuff is concerned.
And well earned too. Like if you watch those movies nowadays, you're like, yeah, this is still
like The Breakfast Club and like that kind of stuff.
Like this is still a great movie.
I mean, they stand the test of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's
or like Terminator,
yeah, Robocop,
Alien,
yeah,
like all these fantastic movies that came out like in the 80s.
And it's also like very charming too, like something about like the way they shot things and like there was a lot of wide shots and like a lot of 80s CGI was so terrible that nobody really ever used it.
It's sort of like the liquid thing, like in Terminator, where he's like,
yeah. And it was probably also extremely expensive.
Oh yeah.
So it was kind of like the diminishing returns, right? Like we're spending all this money and it looks fucking awful. Speaking of bad CGI, the network, the TV network CW.
Yes.
So they've got a bunch of like superhero shows, like a lot of DC stuff. Like they've got The Flash and Arrow and Supergirl.
Yeah.
And Supergirl in particular kind of caught a bunch of shit a while back.
I've seen some of the clips. They're bad.
Have you seen the one where like she was like a construction worker and she phases like back into herself?
It's Morbid time.
We got to talk about that too. But she like phases back into herself and she like attacks that alien or whatever. So if anybody is interested, and I will post a link on the Facebook page too. It's look up Supergirl bad CGI and you'll get thousands of results for it. The funniest thing about it is like it looks like 90s CGI, like from Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like the alien that they have there is like he doesn't really like he's like he doesn't look like he is in the same world as them. Like he's like the lighting on him is totally different. And it's like they're like outside in the middle of the day and he looks like he's in a dark hallway, but he's standing outside. So he really sticks out.
Yeah.
And then like they show this scene where Supergirl like she runs really fast and then she punches him. Well, like later on in that scene, somebody fires a gun at someone.
Yeah.
And so she runs really fast and she goes and blocks the bullet.
Yeah.
But the scene where she runs really fast was reused. So the first time she does it, she's standing behind like this barrier, like a traffic like sawhorse, you know, and she runs and hits the alien. So, you know, if you have any kind of object permanence, you know that she's over here where the alien was. So when she runs again, unless she ran back to that sawhorse, it's just like, it's so fucking lazy. And the worst part about it is it was a promo.
Oh, God.
That was what they were using to hook people to come see the show. It's so bad.
Well, it's kind of like, it's kind of bizarre, like the decision making for some of these shows.
It's like, you know, CGI is like, have you ever seen like Ugandan movies?
I like it.
It's like on that level. It's only like barely better than that.
My favorite has got to be the one where that woman's like running and like yelling and screaming, and he gets out of the car. He's like, "Why are you running?
Why are you running? Why are you running?" But they'll do like, you know, like really terrible, like, you know, not even CGI. It's like clip art that you just you paste over the top of them of your scene or whatever. It's like it's almost on par with that. But it was like, you know, that came out, you know, not even 10 years ago. So it's like, why is it that bad?
Well, and I've seen some clips from some of their new show, like I guess like the Batwoman show's like really bad too, like the CGI. And I don't even necessarily think the CGI could still be bad and it still kind of be charming as long as like the acting is okay. But I feel just like some of the acting, I don't know if it's the actors or if it's the writers or like what it is that they're doing.
Once you notice bad CGI, it kind of puts you in that mindset where you're like, okay, let's pick this apart and see where it fails everywhere else. Because it all becomes very obvious to you.
Yeah.
It's like once you notice something is kind of off, like in your TV show or your movie or whatever it is that you're watching, it really takes you out. Once you break that immersion, you start looking at this thing as kind of like a sum of all of its parts rather than, you know, a homogenous piece of media.
Well, and you would think too, like, and I know that CGI probably still isn't cheap today, but you would think that they would put less emphasis on it. Like, if you know that the CGI is going to be bad, like I'd be like, look, we're going to use the least amount of CGI that we could possibly can.
Practical effects as possible. Yeah, and that always looks, you know, because it's
100 times better.
It's real.
It's sort of like the Tyrannosaurus Rex that they made for Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Like even like the CGI dinosaurs in the new movies don't look as good as the animatronic one that they made in 90 whenever that came out.
It's like 91 or something like that. It's like early. It's like either 89 or like early 90s.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a movie that still holds up.
Yeah.
That movie still holds up.
I just I kind of feel like, you know, if it should be obvious to you, especially if you're in like the film industry, right?
Yeah.
That your CGI looks bad. You should kind of have an eye for that sort of thing. Because if I'm noticing it, I know that you noticed it.
It should be blatantly obvious.
So somewhere in like the editing process on the cutting room floor, they said, okay, hey, yeah, that looks great. Green light.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that didn't look great. You know for a fact that didn't look great. There was something I wanted to say about that. Oh yeah, so like once you notice like something, you know, is awry, something is untoward in this movie, the TV show that you're watching. Mary and I watched Ambulance recently, which is a new Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Yeah.
And we love Jake Gyllenhaal, so we watch anything that comes out with him in it, we watch it. And I didn't really know anything about the movie other than Jake Gyllenhaal was in it. Yeah. So we were watching it, and about 5 or 6 minutes in, it became painfully obvious that Michael Bay directed this movie.
Oh yeah, there's like explosions in the first scene.
Well, it's not even so much like the action. It was just like the shot composition and like the camera angles.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like, he does Dutch angles a lot, you know, where it's like the camera's like pointed up and kind of like tilted to the side.
Yeah.
That angle is supposed to convey unease or tension.
Yeah.
So, like, there's this one scene in particular, and I've tried to find it on YouTube to see if anybody else was talking about it.
No.
And you can't really find it on YouTube. You just have to go watch the movie. But Jake Gyllenhaal and the other main character, they're having, like, this argument, right? And he's trying to convince him, like, one last job, one last hit, we're trying to do this big heist or whatever. And the guy's like, "Oh, no,
that's such a trope."
Oh yeah, he's like, "No, I'm not in that life anymore." He's like, "You remember Afghanistan?" It's like, but the whole time that they're standing there arguing, the camera's just going around and around and around and around and around, and it's nauseating. Yeah. And there's like so many like quick cuts to like Jake Gyllenhaal's face right here, and like he's like, "Come on, man!" And he's like really like his lines are like this big energy, and then like his energy comes down.
Yeah,
but like. That's not matching what the camera's doing. The entire time the camera's spinning around and around. It's like on a carousel. And there's so much like lens flare and like light bloom, and it's like the they'll do that thing where like the sun rays hit the camera and it kind of covers everything. You can't really see the actor anymore. That scene is probably 2.5 minutes long. And it feels like a fucking eternity.
Ugh.
It just goes on way too long.
I remember the very first Transformers movie that he did. It was really good. I think because people weren't used to sort of his film style yet.
Yeah.
And it matched that movie. Like, it makes sense.
It matched the energy
It matched the energy of the movie.
Yeah.
Where he lost me was in the second movie.
Yeah.
Where there's like this huge fight between Megatron and Optimus Prime in the desert, like it wasn't. It was Bumblebee and they were like fighting like near like these tombs or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's like a wide angle shot of it.
Yeah,
and there's just it's like this scrap heap.
It's too much.
Yeah,
he's just like I can't tell what I'm looking at.
What is going on?
Like, how do you know who's winning?
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever seen two squirrels fight?
Yeah.
You can't.
Or like two cats.
Yeah, you can't keep track of that.
Hair going everywhere.
You just got to wait for the outcome. I guess we'll see once this is all over. Oh, man. Yeah, he...
But speaking of Jake Gyllenhaal, he has a bunch of really good movies. Have you ever seen?
For sure.
Was it Nightcrawler?
Yeah, dude.
That's
Nightcrawler
a really good one.
Great.
That's a really good one. And I'm a huge sucker for like boxing or like fighting movies. So have you ever seen Southpaw?
Yeah.
Southpaw is amazing. I love Southpaw.
Southpaw is really, really good. Southpaw is, it's a very stressful movie because he just keeps fucking up.
Yeah.
And it's like...
He keeps fucking up. He's like past his prime. He's like punch drunk.
And it's all his fault too.
Yeah.
Like everything that he fucks up is his fault.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and it's not one of those things where like it's his fault and he doesn't think that.
Yeah.
He knows that. He's just struggling against himself, right?
Yeah.
It's man versus self.
Yeah.
And those are usually really great movies because it's very relatable.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you get in your own way?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. You're your own worst enemy.
I'm probably my biggest hurdle.
Yeah. But I'm a sucker for like boxing movies. Like, I like the Rocky movies, and I think maybe that was like my introduction to like fighting movies or like boxing movies or whatever. But like, there's so many other good ones. You have like Cinderella Man's a really good one.
Cinderella Man's good. $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby is fantastic. But $1 Million Baby is really good. But you also have Clint Eastwood in it, and he puts out really good movies. So,
Warrior.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not a boxing
Warrior.
movie. It's like a UFC movie.
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
That's really good. So we were talking about, was it Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
We were talking about his insane traps in that movie. They like start like above his ears.
Yeah, above his fucking ears. He's so fucking jacked in that movie.
It's unreal.
My favorite part about that whole movie is how they like developed his character as far as like how he fights. Like, he just walks in the ring, like beats the fuck out of somebody and just leaves.
Well, he just leaves. Yeah. Like no music or anything. It's so wild. while we're on the topic of movies, do you know that there's a new Beavis and Butthead movie coming out?
No, I didn't know
It's
that.
called Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. I saw a trailer for it, and it looks a bit more, as far as the art style goes, it's pretty on point for like that Mike Judge kind of style, but it's very crisp and clean because it's like modern animation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is the first 2D animated film to come out in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Like pretty much since Treasure Planet, everything has been 3D.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this isn't a Disney movie. And yes, it's Beavis and Butthead. But it's like, you know, I have faith in Mike Judge that he'll make a move for people that enjoy Beavis and Butthead. You'll enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it. We will be watching.
Yes. I am his target audience.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
I kind of wish that he would do like a King of the Hill movie, because I would certainly watch that.
I'm surprised that he hasn't.
Yeah, you would think. Well, would you say that Beavis and Butthead had a greater cultural impact than King of the Hill, or vice versa?
That's really hard to say. Well, no, maybe it's not. I would say King of the Hill. Just because King of the Hill had a larger audience.
I think King of the Hill simply because of the meme culture around King of the Hill.
Yeah. King of the Hill's such a good show.
That's fantastic.
It's like...
It's so good. One of my favorite episodes is where Peggy's standing in the bathroom trying to say penis.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're supposed to like teach like sex ed. And Hank's standing outside like watering his lawn. And she just, vagina.
He's like, he always tells her to be quiet. Everybody can hear her cussing.
Yeah. I love Hank Hill as a character because he, it would have been very easy to write him as just kind of like an ignorant racist.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that with him. And it's like I guess you could call him ignorant, but he was never like outwardly like mean towards anybody.
Yeah.
He was just very conservative.
Yeah.
And like, usually by the end of it, there would be like this new thing that he kind of opened his heart to. Yeah. But at the same time, he remained himself.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing to do.
Oh, yeah. He's a fantastically written character.
Yeah, with a character, you know? Usually, like, if the character changes, they change completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah.
Still, my most favorite character in that whole show is Dale.
Dale?
Yeah, Dale's my favorite. He's like the pocket sand.
Yeah.
Sha-sha-sha.
His massive distrust of the government really connects with you, doesn't it? Oh.
Really, all those characters in that show were written really well. Like you have like Dale was written really well, and then you had Boomhauer.
Boomhauer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Dotree was just like he was like the washout to end all washouts. Did you ever see Mike Judge on? I think it was Conan O'Brien. He was talking about the inspiration for Boomhauer. It was while he was airing Beavis and Butthead, or while MTV was airing it. He got a phone call from some guy who was complaining about Beavis and Butthead, and it sounded like what Boomhauer sounds like now. And he was like, I've been calling y'all better than 3 months now, complaining about you every time that dang Porky Butthole come on TV there. He thought the name of the show was Porky's Butthole. So that was his inspiration for that character. But yeah, I love Mike Judge.
Oh yeah,
he's awesome. I wish that he would have done more stuff. But at the same time, I kind of respect him for just stepping away.
Yeah.
From all that.
Well, the two things that he's put his name on.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows.
And things don't really end anymore.
No.
Like nowadays, things just kind of they just fucking jerk on the teats and get all the milk out of it that they can, and then until everyone's fucking sick of it, and then it just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah, it's like look at like the Marvel universe.
Yeah. It leaves this legacy of like, God, that.
Yeah.
Whereas like if it would have ended like 3 seasons ago or whatever, it would have been like one of those classics that everybody talks about.
No.
Like every, shows, I think Lost was the first one that kind of got that way.
Well, so like look at Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole ending to Game of Thrones is just.
Well, those two dudes, D&D, they just wanted to wrap it up so they could go work on Star Wars.
Yeah. And they fucked that over too. So.
Yeah. Well, video games are that way now.
Yeah.
You can't just let things stop.
Yeah, well, it's like all sorts of like media. It's like they're, especially too, like when you work for like this large corporate type entity where it's just like, oh, this is the equation that works so that we can get money.
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of like, you want to make a video game.
It's just like this soulless.
Yeah. It's like you used to you want to make a video game, you get your little team together and you make your game and then you bring it to a publisher, especially during the 80s because everybody was publishing everything and Atari almost ruined video games forever because they were just flooding the market with garbage. Anybody that had an idea was like, yes, do that. It's like the E.T. video game was so bad that they took all the copies of it and dumped it in a landfill. And they recently uncovered it a couple years back. Yeah. And people were like buying copies of like this destroyed game cartridge of the worst game of all time for like thousands of dollars.
Ugh, I've been sitting in that leachate.
Yeah, ugh. Yeah. But I mean that's why there's a Call of Duty every year. Yeah. Because they have to release one.
Well, they're beholden to the
shareholders.
The shareholders, right?
Yeah. And, I've said it before, and I'm not the only one who said it, but it's like, games and movies aren't made by people with vision anymore. It's made by this board of directors that have got to put out a product to bring in the income and appease the shareholders.
That's really like why probably if you were going to start like a media company or something like that, if you wanted to put out like really, really good content, or like you wanted to put out stuff like really connected with the audience, there's really no reason why you should ever take it public.
Yeah.
There's like, unless you took it public with like like everybody that bought the shares like understood. Yeah. Like, hey, like this is not going to be like you can give us money, you can buy shares in what it is that we're going to do, but we're not going to be just churning stuff out so that you can make money. That's not how this is going to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But then again, like, you would be breaking your fiduciary responsibility to the shareholder. Well, so you couldn't really do that.
The problem is you get thousands of voices yelling at you.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of hard to, like, hear the fans over all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that my fans want this, but I have to do this. I'm legally bound and obligated to do this for these other 1,000 voices that are screaming at me.
Yeah.
It's like, If you have a vision of what you want to create, you kind of have to fund it completely yourself.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't fit the equation that makes money, then you're not going to get any backing from like AAA studios or anything like that. No. And it's just going to, kind of be lost in the slurry of everything else that's exactly the same. Right? Yeah. It's like every game that comes out now is like, how do people describe it? Well, it's like this, but with this.
No.
It's like, well, why can't it just be its own thing? Yeah. Why has it got to have like an element of this game? And why is everything got to be open world and have a crafting mechanic? And so it doesn't work that way. There's a new Sonic the Hedgehog game coming out.
Oh, God.
And it's an open world Sonic the Hedgehog game. And they showed like a preview of it.
Yeah.
And it looks, he's like the only thing with any color in like this world they've got him running around in. Everything else is green and brown. And it's just like, go and look at the first ever Sonic game, right?
What made it
And as soon as the title card goes away, look at all of those colors.
Yeah.
And look at all of that style. Like as soon as the game starts, you're just hit with all of this like oh my God, this is so, unique. Now it's like, we took Sonic and he's in a forest now that, you've seen the forest before, right? Yeah. It's like, it's like everything doesn't have to follow this formula.
Yeah.
That just makes money. And the thing is, like, they don't even make their money from the game sales. It's all the in-game purchases. That's where all the real money comes from.
How much longer do you think it is before they finally figure out in-movie purchases?
I kind of don't even want to speak that into existence.
I was about to say, oh, God, what have I done?
You'll be like streaming like a movie on Netflix, And then like 30 minutes in, it's like you can buy the Game of Thrones DLC to it comes with.
Don't like this ending?
It comes with the ending. It comes with extra character. It comes with subtitles. And it'll be like $2.99.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'll just pay it.
Yeah.
But if 5 million people say, I'll just pay it, they just made $15 million. Bunch of bastards. Speaking of video games, let's talk about Super Cringe Thursday. It was the Legend of Zelda commercial.
I was about to say because we got two different ones that we need to talk about.
Yeah, we got Super Cringe Thursday Double Dip. That commercial came out at a time where video games were starting to not be as niche as they were.
Yeah.
And they were still trying to figure out how to market it to, first of all, who is the target audience?
Yeah.
Who is that person?
They're just like trying to cover all these bases at one time.
So you got like, well, we got to put a nerd in there, right? Because nerds like video
There's some
games.
dude with like,
is he like the
tape on his
taped up
head?
glasses and like a pocket protector with pins in it? Just like the quintessential nerd. And then there's another kid who's got like a leather jacket and like spiked up hair, and they're like best buds.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, hey man, have you seen the new Zelda game? He goes, wow, look at those graphics.
This is like a top down. Sprite running around on the screen.
Was that really a selling point? Were the graphics really a selling point back then? They couldn't have been. Everything could only use 8 colors.
Yeah.
But they do like this, like, they're like, okay, well now we've got the nerd and we've got the cool kid. Let's have him rap. That way we'll get all the people that like rap.
Yeah.
And they did this really fucking cringy rap about Zelda. You
It's
would
like
be hard
one
pressed.
person like a snare drum in the back, like keeping like a beat.
It's like you would be hard pressed to make a rap about Zelda now and it not be cringy. If you had, who's a prolific rap artist, right? Post Malone, he couldn't do it.
No.
Nobody could. Snoop Dogg couldn't do it.
No.
So yeah, it was. They were trying to cover all these just hit everybody all at once, and we'll see who reacts to it. Well, I couldn't imagine that anybody reacted to it. All they probably did was solidify
drive people away from the product.
All they really did was probably make people be like, "Ugh, video games are lame." Because it's not that big commercial's not just cringe now. It had to have been cringe back then when it first came out.
I don't know. The early '90s were like a wild west for like these commercials and stuff. Like I remember like some of the marketing that they used to do back in the '90s. Like you remember like Surge?
Like so high energy.
Yeah,
just
like
fucking off the wall.
Like Surge Cola.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's like a dude like slams his face against the wall and like the Surge thing pops up or whatever.
He's like, you don't understand, Mom. He like jumps on like a skateboard and like rides it through the house.
Yeah. And he like fights his stepdad.
Drink Surge or you're a loser. Everything was like that. Everything was so fucking like cerebral too. Like, you remember the Gushers commercials where the kids would eat the Gusher and their head would turn into like a big raspberry?
I do remember that.
You remember that there was one kid whose head turned into a banana?
I do remember
and banana was not a Gushers flavor.
Yeah, it wasn't, was it?
No.
I never put that together.
So yeah, it's kind of funny when you look at those old commercials because they just didn't know who they're marketing this to. They just went in completely blind and they're like, just try everything.
Yeah, there's like a dude like does like a rip of Coke and then he's like, okay, all right, here's what we're gonna do.
So like, how do we sell this fruit snack? They're gonna eat it. Head turns into a banana. That's golden. Yes, hello, Martin Scorsese. We need you to film a commercial for us. Wasn't there like the Pops commercial? It was like, gotta have my Pops, but he was like a fucking crack addict.
Yeah, in the Cocoa Crisp bird or whatever. Yeah.
There was a lot of like loony, crazy characters. You know?
Chester Cheeto.
Yeah.
the tricks thing,
The
like
tricks-
silly
what-
rabbit
what's-
tricks are for kids.
Yeah, why can't the rabbit have any?
Yeah.
It's
Or like the leprechaun like run away from the kids with the bowl of cereal.
yeah, well, yeah, they're just like trying to like keep it
And
away
all of them
from.
are like packed with sugar.
They're only sugar.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's
It's just
all
sugar,
it
straight up
is.
sugar.
Yeah, sugar. Feed it to your kids in the morning.
Yeah. And then send them to school so the teachers can deal with them.
Yeah. So when the teacher gets there, the kids come in at 7
It's like,
a.m. They're all fucked up on sugar. So they don't pay attention for the first 3 periods. And then they crash and eat lunch. And then, like, the last 3 periods,
They're like all asleep.
they're just asleep.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you do at school today? I don't fucking know. I was insane on sugar for 2 hours. And I slept the rest of the day. Speaking of cereals, did you ever see where, they would put cereals like that kind of on the middle shelf in, like, aisles?
Yeah.
Usually the stuff that, like, has a higher selling potential is up top. But those cereals would be...
Well, they want them eye level with the kids.
They want them eye level to kids, and their mascots would have their eyes kind of pointed down
Yeah.
to try and catch the gaze of
That's
the
so
children.
crazy that they like figured out that would be like a selling point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's also kind of scummy.
Unless you're like our family and then we're all taller than...
Yeah. Yeah, we always got, like, Life cereal.
Yeah.
Oh, because, you buy a
Life
box...
cereal's actually really good.
You buy a box of Apple Jacks, how long does that last?
Yeah,
Especially
not
if
very
you got
long.
3 boys you're trying to feed.
No. It got like we always used to get like the bags.
Yeah.
Like the big bags that were like at the end of the aisle.
Yeah. The Kroger brand
Yeah.
cereal.
Like fruity dino bites. I remember when I was in college, I had bought like a whole bag of like those or whatever. And I didn't really have anything to eat. That was really the only thing in the apartment that I had to eat.
Yeah.
It's like
That cake. How many cakes did you eat?
a lot of cakes. That's why I put on so much damn weight. But I had bought like this whole bag of like fruity dino bites or whatever it was. There's like Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
And like I didn't have anything to eat, so I just like took the milk and poured it in the bag.
Oh my God.
I was just like eating it out of the bag. Because I had like that much left in the bottom of it.
That's so sad.
I was like, I really don't feel like dirtying up a bowl.
Just imagine somebody coming into your apartment and you're just sitting like on your chair, like no shirt on, eating cereal out of a bag. Please don't tell anyone I live like this. Oh, man. Well, speaking of kids, let's talk about our other Super Cringe Thursday. Which, by the way, if anybody's interested, the first Super Cringe Thursday, just look up Legend of Zelda 80s commercial. And I actually got one more thing to say about that. That video game had 2 commercials. There's one the one that we got with like the really cringy rap, and then the one that released in Japan. The one that released in Japan really drives home the point that they didn't know who they were marketing to.
No.
Because it's like this choreographed like step dance thing where they're like, it looks like West Side Story but with like with Zelda. And I don't even really know how to explain it other than like it's very of that era.
Yeah.
As far as like they used to like a lot of like fog machines and like like styrofoam like set pieces and stuff.
Yeah.
You just gotta watch that. Go watch Legend of Zelda Japanese commercial, and just go watch that one. But yeah, our other Super Cringe Thursday. This was actually a tweet.
Boy.
I don't know where this took place, but I'm assuming
It's looking like a primary school.
like a primary school,
Yeah.
like with all these little kids, and there was like maybe like a local like karate
No.
dojo that came and put on like a
Trying to recruit kids
trying
for the
to get
dojo.
some kids to
Yeah.
come and do that. And in this video, there's this little girl who sadly doesn't have any arms, and the guy is on his knees in front of her, and he's got like this little board you punch and they break.
No.
Well, obviously she can't punch it, so he's got it set on like these 2 cinder blocks, and he wants her to stomp on it and break it in half.
No.
And so He's like, yeah, stomp on it. And she stomps on it, and it breaks in half. And he goes, yeah, high five. Oh.
And then he's like, knuckles.
And then he goes double high five. And then he's like, oh, shit. Like, you can see it, like, in his body language. And he goes, like, a normal high five. He's like, no, that doesn't work either. And then he goes to do fist bump. But she can't do that either.
Yeah.
So he, like, fist bumps her chest. And then he's like, that was weird.
Yeah.
And he just, like, pats her on the head. Oh, my God. It's like you said, like, each
decision was worse. was a worse decision than the last one.
I'm surprised you didn't slap her on the ass when she walked away. I felt so bad for him because,
like, the little girl was like smiling the whole time.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
like,
The little girl was
upset
by it. Yeah. She's like,
but like you could see the panic, like as he was like going through all the different decisions.
Well, the thing is, like, you know, you're fucking wired to high five when somebody accomplishes something. That's
most people you interact with have hands and arms. Yeah, like. It's a societal norm to be like, high five, like, good job.
Yeah, it's very, you know, possible that was the first person he ever met that didn't have any arms.
No.
So his natural reaction was
like,
high five.
Yeah.
And then, like, his brain is like, he's like
short-circuiting, trying to figure out.
He's just like the tire screeching sound effect. He's like, wait a second. It's like, hang on, we'll find something for this situation. It's like thumbing through all the files. Like, try fist bump. Ah, shit.
Oh, God. Like, he's like, you kind of see him, like, slowly die inside.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's rough. It's, you know, there's a lot of videos similar to that, as far as like talk show hosts or game show hosts or like talking to you know, people who won something or whatever, and they go to congratulate them and they go for a handshake, but that person doesn't have any hands.
Oh, God.
Or they'll, you know, ask them a question like, did you see such and such? And the person's like, no, I'm blind.
Yeah, like, oh.
They're like, oh, no. But you can't, like, you can't really fight your instincts. You can't fight how you've been wired by society to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly, like, manually deciding on how you're going to interact with everyone, you're going to...
You know how long it would take you...
to do anything?
Yeah.
To go anywhere?
Well, not only that, but those decisions are sort of like subconscious, like to do those things. Like it's sort of like an automatic response to just kind of help you get through your day. Like if you had to like manually be like concentrate on like this one person, how you're going to respond to them.
Yeah. Like, and they're just standing there looking at you like, why is he staring at me? And then like 3 seconds go by and then you reach out for a handshake. They're just going to walk away from you.
It's like just like somebody's talking to you, just like look at them and they're just like, is he going to respond? Like what? And you're like, processing.
60%. Critical error.
Yeah, I really felt for that guy. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because it easily could have been me. You know what I mean? If it was me, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I know that I would have because, you know, you just kind of...
I feel like I would have went with a thumbs up.
I probably would have went for like the double high five initially. And then I think what I would have done is I would have brought it around to a clap.
Yeah.
So I'd have been like, ha-ha, like this. Like that's what I meant to do. It would have been very obvious that that wasn't what I meant to do, but I would have saved it with that, you know? It's funny because, you know, I saw that little girl with no arms, and I also thought, like, man, I know them other kids give her shit.
Kids are awful.
Because kids are terrible.
Kids are terrible.
And they also don't know that what they're doing is terrible.
Yeah.
because they're only a couple years into this thing, and the rest of us have had 30 years to adjust.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to hold them to the same standards
Yeah.
of social interaction.
Oh yeah, kids are shitty.
So it kind of reminded me of after Allison graduated from her radiology school.
Yeah.
Which, congratulations. Shout out to Allison.
Shout out.
We all went to Gumbo's afterward to celebrate. And while we were standing, you were inside, and it was me and Dad and Allison's dad and Autumn were standing outside. And Autumn's just being Autumn. She's a kid. And this individual comes walking down the sidewalk who had the craziest bow-legged...
I know which one you're talking about because I saw him leave the restaurant.
So you saw him, yeah.
Yes.
I'm talking like this dude's legs. He looked like he had 40 knees.
40 like 40 like 4D like 4-dimensional knees.
Like they were existing somewhere else at the same time.
Another plane.
No, his legs looked like parentheses.
Yeah.
Like he was that bow-legged. And I spotted him. No, actually, Mary had seen him before, and she pointed him out to me. Like she was like, "Hey, look at that guy." She was like, "Oh my god, this guy's legs."
Yeah.
She doesn't talk like that, but
You get the gist.
you get the gist. So we noticed him. Dad noticed him. Allison's dad noticed him. Who hadn't noticed him yet was Autumn. She noticed him when he was within earshot.
Oh god.
And so she goes, "Why is he walking like that?"
Oh god. No.
And just with the strong point.
Ugh.
And she got through like, "Why is he walking?" And Dad immediately just like put his hand around her mouth. And Autumn's like, at that point, Autumn's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like I've done something wrong incorrectly here."
Yeah.
So Dad was like, Dad handled it really well. He was like, "Look, when you see somebody who is different," he was like, "you don't
point it out and yell.
and yell about it." He was like, "Everybody knows that he's different. He knows he's different. It's not a brand new discovery. Like, oh my God, he is different." But she was cool about it. She was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very awkward. But it wasn't her fault.
Yeah,
She's
it's
just a
not
little
her.
kid,
Yeah, she didn't know. I remember we used to have, for people who don't know, we used to have a very large dog. He was a Saint Bernard buddy. And when we lived in Wisconsin, Allison used to, because we lived probably about maybe a half mile from the lake there, Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
So she would walk down to where the lake was during the summer and like read or, take Buddy with her and walk down there. And there was a lady that came walking by, and she had one leg that was longer than the other, like shorter than the other. So she was like,
like hobbling,
like hobbling down the street. And anything that was different than the normal, Buddy didn't like it. He didn't like it.
It upset him.
He got very upset by him. So, like, this lady comes like walking down the street, and Buddy like sees her. And he gets up, he's like, like freaking out while this lady's like walking by. And Allison's like, shut up.
But he's like, wrong. It's so funny too, because dogs have they've evolved alongside us.
Yeah.
Like there's no other species that is on like kind of the same wavelength with us as like a dog is.
Certainly not cats.
So there's a lot of things about like you kind of start to learn your dog's personality.
No.
Right? And dogs do have personalities.
Oh yeah.
And it's like take Lex and Lola for instance. Like they came from the same litter. They eat the same food. They grew up in the same house. Everything's the exact same. They've spent all their time together. Excuse me. But they're totally different dogs. Like Lola is like very like she's just like everything's 100% energy.
No.
She puts all her faith into whatever action she takes.
Yeah.
So, like, I had to break her out of this habit of jumping off the top of the stairs down to me. Because I was like, you're going to get so big one day that you're going to kill us both if you do that. Meanwhile, Lex is just like this, like he's like fucking Eeyore. Like he's not mean. He just like he's like manic depressive. he'll swing back and forth between like being a happy-go-lucky dog and just being this fucking sad sack. And you're like, what's wrong with you? And he's just like just laying on the lounger like, everybody, my life sucks. It's like, well, I don't know what to do for you, dude. So it's just funny to see them kind of become their own person in a way. You know what I mean? And it's kind of funny. So me and Wesley were recording about an hour early this morning, and I was supposed to get up at 3:30 was when I was planning to get up. That way I could use the bathroom, take care of the dog, just take a shower and everything like that. Well, my alarm never went off. And actually, no, it did go off because when I looked at my phone, it was going off, but there was no sound. So thanks for that. Yeah. That was great. What woke me up was... Well, I should preface this with Mary slept in the living room with the dogs last night because the dogs have been having some stomach issues lately. Because of course, you know,
why not? Why wouldn't that be a thing that happens?
Have been eating the same thing for 4 years, so why wouldn't all of a sudden it upset their stomachs? So she's been sleeping with them out there in case they throw up. We've got hardwood floor in there now, so it's better for them to puke on that than in the carpet or, God forbid, in the bed.
Yeah.
So I woke up this morning because Wesley knocked on the door, and Lola and Lex went fucking bonkers.
Yeah, went fucking bananas.
And we were talking about, like, if you spend enough time around your dog, you can really tell the difference between, like, just they're barking because they're barking and they're barking because something's up. Like, usually they're just like, woof, woof, woof. It's like they're just kind of,
they're barking to be barking.
But they're like, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Something's actually
probably
going on.
Go check that out.
Something's actually going on now.
I remember, like, when Allison was pregnant with Autumn. This is when I was still traveling a lot for work. Mm-hmm. So I had come home. I had gotten in late one night. I had flown into Hartsfield Jackson at like 11.
Yeah.
So I like got into the house at like after midnight. It's probably like 12:45. And so I come in the house and I'm trying to make noise to let people know that like I'm in the house.
So you're not surprising anybody?
I'm not surprising anybody. Yeah. Like I'm figuring Buddy will get up or he'll hear me or something.
Yeah.
And he's not. So I'm like turning on light switches and stuff, like trying to like announce my presence.
Was he a deep sleeper?
Oh, yeah. Especially when he got older.
Yeah.
So I like go into the bedroom and like the light is on in the hallway, so it's shining into the bedroom.
Yeah.
Like nobody is waking up. It's like I go over and like I tap Allison, and then she like freaks out and she like starts trying to punch at me. And the whole time, and then she like finally he hears her wake up, and he just sits up and goes, "Boom." Yeah. And then he sees it's me and then lays back down and goes back to sleep. I'm like, a lot of fucking good you are.
Yeah, a lot could have happened, buddy. But by the time you set up and get that one pitiful bark.
I was like, you lazy sack of shit.
Like Lex and Lola, like, they'll put on like they're these big tough dogs, but they're just pussies. Like the smallest thing will have them running away. So I know that like they're not gonna protect us. Like if something like Lex might scare somebody if they see him just because he's so large.
Yeah.
But he also looks like a poodle, so they're like, he might kind of be a little Nancy. Yeah. And he is. But at the very least, I know that they hear anything, they'll make a big fucking
at least
racket.
The size of the dog.
Yeah, we'll at least hear and know that something's up. We actually we dropped them off at doggy daycare while we went down to Florida, and it was kind of like we could pay just to have them boarded, where they feed them and they just make sure that there's alive. Yeah. But all the kennels face into the room where all the other dogs who are there for daycare are playing and having a good time. So it's like I can't have
how miserable.
I can't have my dog just sit there and look at all the other dogs having a fucking blast. So it's like, we want them to to have playtime as well. Well, this last time that we dropped them off, the person came in and took their leashes and was taking them back, and the person behind the counter said, put Lola in run 2 and Lex in run 3. And Mary goes, "Oh, they don't get to play together?" And the lady was like, "Well, when they're together, they bully the other dogs." I was like, those motherfuckers. Like, I just imagine like the two of them walking in and be like, "We're here to fuck shit up." But when they separate them, they play better with the other dogs. But it kind of makes sense because,
well, they're a pack.
Yeah, Lex and Lola have been around each other their whole entire lives. They're like their own unit, right?
No.
So they probably feel like they have a leg up on all the other dogs who are just individuals, right? So when they split them up, then they have to behave. Like, okay, I've got to be a part of
this pack. I have to assimilate.
I have to assimilate rather than, be like the top dog.
Force my will.
Yeah, force my will upon all these other dogs.
I remember when we were in Wisconsin, Allison had taken Buddy to a dog park up there, and it was during the winter. And there was like all these dogs at this dog park that they were running around and everything. And Buddy, he was so big, like he just kind of like, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and everybody else can just deal with it.
Yeah.
So like all the dogs are like running in like this pack or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Buddy runs up like he's going to be the one that's going to run in the front. And apparently, I guess there was like this massive husky that was there.
Yeah.
And Buddy like ran up and like tried to bump the husky, and
like
the husky body check him, and the husky's like, as huskies tend to do.
Yeah.
And Buddy, I guess Buddy like backed off and
he's
just like,
whoa, okay, dude.
And he just like went and sat in the corner.
It's really funny when you have like, when you take your dog to a dog park and like the other dogs come in and they're like getting to know each other.
No.
And like sometimes they don't get along.
No.
And like other times they'll like, they'll do the play bow where they'll throw their front bodies down real low to the ground and their butts real high up in the air. That's like dog language. That's how they speak to each other. That's how they, do you care for a good round of fun?
Yeah.
And then they'll take off running. And it's just kind of cool to see them interact with other dogs.
It's interesting to watch the communication.
It is. It's interesting to see how they communicate with one another versus how they communicate with you.
No.
Because it's two totally different things. And it's like, if you're at a dog park, like we're at a dog park with Lex and Lola, and they're playing with another dog, and then we call them back to us, you can almost kind of see them switch modes.
No.
Like, okay, now I'm in human mode. I've got to come in over here and navigate this social interaction with my owner.
Yeah.
But when they go to play with the dog, okay, I'm a dog now.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that, that switch in them.
It's also interesting too, like I can certainly tell a difference between, and I don't, just because I know like you have larger dogs too, so I can always tell the difference between like a large dog and like a medium-sized dog and like a small dog.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if
like
it's
apart
like
from like the size.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the brain is larger, so there's like more processing power there.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's certainly a difference between like our dog now that we have, she's a medium-sized dog, I guess you could say, as opposed to like Buddy.
Yeah.
Like, but when I was like talking to Buddy, I'm like, I know you understand me, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like I know you know exactly what it is.
I see it in your face.
I see it in your face. I know
You're
you
looking me in the eye.
Like I could say something to him.
Yeah.
Like I would just like speak sentences to him.
Yeah.
And like sometimes like he would just do the thing I told him to do. And like, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Ruthie, like she's just kind of like, she's much more animalistic than Buddy ever was. Buddy was very domesticated.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you have like a small dog, which like small dogs will really like attach themselves to one person.
Yeah.
Whereas and bigger dogs will kind of do the same thing, but they're usually a bit more like outgoing.
Yeah.
Small dogs are usually much more introverted. And I guess that's because of the size, right? Like they probably understand that they are very, very, very tiny.
No.
Especially if you get like a little bitty chihuahua. Like no wonder that thing's a fucking neurotic piece of shit.
No.
Because it weighs.
Well, it's all fucked up.
3 pounds. It's all genetically fucked up. So all it really can do is bark and act big.
I
'Cause
wonder
it's
what
scared
like
of
the
everything.
historical significance is of like Chihuahuas, because you have like Shiba Inus and like all that stuff. Like those were like considered
Like-
royalty dogs,
Or
and
like
then
bred for a purpose.
yeah,
Like
German Shepherds were bred for shepherding.
They're bred to be like guard dogs
Yeah.
and like
or like collies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they were like working dogs.
Yeah.
Like they had a purpose.
and you can see that instinct, like especially in collies. Because they say that collies make good family dogs because they gravitate towards the kids because they notice like they see you kind of like doting over the child.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, that's the thing that we've got to
Yeah.
protect that thing. So they'll like follow the kid around and like you'll see them like kind of bump into the kid and like keep them away from like ledges and
Yeah.
like if the kid's like climbing up on something, they freak out. They're like, you haven't told them that they need to watch the kid. They're just like, okay, I understand.
Yeah. This is what we do.
This is what we do. But if you have a Chihuahua, it's just gonna bite that kid.
Yeah.
It's just because.
And
it's just a nervous little
Yeah.
rat.
And another thing is that it's always interesting to me how people, like, especially like with smaller dogs like Chihuahuas and everything, like they kind of like if the dog's like acting up and like growling and like gnashing its teeth and everything,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh ha ha ha, and they're like taking videos and like stuff like, but all you're doing is teaching that dog to be aggressive.
Yeah, to continue that
Yeah,
behavior.
to continue that type of behavior.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you think that'd be funny if, like, there was a Rottweiler doing it?
Or if he was like an English Mastiff.
Yeah, or an English Mastiff.
Yeah.
Like, would you be going, ha ha ha, that's really funny?
Something that if it wanted to, would and could kill you.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but, like, when you have a dog even that size, like, you could have, like, a 2-year-old running around, and that dog could really hurt that kid.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah. It has a mouth full of fangs.
Yeah.
It
It's
can
like,
absolutely hurt that
You're
kid.
being a shit owner.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like the thing with pit bulls. Like, I feel like the reason that here's the thing: pit bulls were bred to be fighting dogs. This whole nanny dog thing
Yeah.
is horseshit.
well, they're a large terrier. It's like terriers are hunting dogs.
Yeah,
That's
also,
what they use them for.
Have you ever seen like a pit bull's physiology? That thing is 100% muscle through and through.
Well, a lot of that is like selective breeding.
Well,
where they-
exactly,
yeah.
but that's how they even got to that point.
Yeah.
So the thing about
Like
a pit
you look
bull,
at like a pit bull from like the 1920s,
yeah,
as opposed to like a pit bull like now. Like some of the ones that you see, like
like who was the world record one? Hulk.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a fucking scary looking dog.
yeah,
But a lot of it, I would say, 20 to 30% of that is the nature of that dog.
yeah.
And
Well,
the
you've
re-
probably also bred aggressive dogs with aggressive dogs, so
Exactly.
you're going to get more aggressive dogs.
Yeah, and the remainder of it is got a lot to do with how you raise that dog.
Yes.
Because a lot of people will get a pit bull because they kind of want to break this, stigma that pit bulls have, but they don't really take any steps to work with the dog. They treat the dog as if it was any other dog. Well,
No.
a pit bull needs more.
But it's high energy.
It's high energy.
It's a working dog.
It's a working dog. It's eventually going to get to a point where, like, okay, I'm not content with just laying on the couch all day long.
yeah,
Like, I need to fuck something up.
yeah,
There's a baby. Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
I can't fight my instinct. So if you have a pit bull, he kind of needs to have a purpose.
yeah. Well, it's like with any working dog. Like
Yeah.
German Shepherds can get like that,
Yeah.
or you have like what's the other one? A Belgian Malinois. Like all these are like working. Like they have to be. They need to do something.
They need to do something, yeah. Like there are dogs that are bred to be like loungers,
Yeah.
like Great Danes.
No.
Great Danes are, every time you see a Great Dane, what's he doing? He's laying down
Yeah.
because that's what
Or
he
like,
does.
or like any type of like hound, like
Yeah.
a basset hound, or
Yeah.
like a, was it the what's the one with like this red and they have the long ears?
Is it Bloodhound?
Yeah, bloodhound.
Yeah. Well, they're tracking dogs.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
they're
like-
also super lazy.
They're also super lazy because their thing doesn't really require them to be like aggressive and
Yeah.
like,
Just go find
high energy.
Go find something.
they're just, they're built to just kind of sniff things out and
Yeah.
bark really loudly.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever heard like a bloodhound
bay.
bark,
Yeah.
they don't bark. They ooh. It's you can't just, have a dog and treat it like you would any other dog,
No.
like a mutt dog. Like, you kind of have to raise it the way that it was kind of meant to exist.
Well, also, too, I think if people wanted to break the stigma as far as, like, pit bulls were concerned, like, you would try, and as bad as it's going to sound, because it sounds like eugenics when I'm talking about it, is that you would breed more docile dogs with more docile dogs.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you would help kind of clear that up a little bit.
Yeah. If you keep breeding psychopaths with psychopaths,
you're going to get more psychopaths.
5 generations from now,
that genetic material is going to propagate itself.
Yeah. And then it's going to be really hard to break the stigma.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a big part of that is irresponsible owners.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the end of the day, your dog is a dog.
Yeah.
And is going to do dog things. Like, as much as we love the idea of, like, our dogs being like little people, they're not.
They're not.
They're dogs.
It is a dog.
And they have the potential to bite and hurt someone and even kill somebody, especially, small children. So you can't just have this, like, laissez-faire, kind of attitude towards having a dog. You've got to kind of, be present in helping this dog socialize with other people and with other dogs, because dogs are pack animals. They need socialization.
Yes.
If they don't know how to be a part of a pack, they're gonna fuck that up and possibly hurt somebody. It's like with Lex and Lola. It never occurred to me, like, we've socialized them with other people. They've been around kids. Like, even when they were puppies, we would purposefully pull on their tails and ears, because that's what a little kid's going to do.
Yeah.
And, not that we would let a kid do that, but if a kid did that, they would just kind of, okay, get away
knock
from
it
him.
off.
They wouldn't, like, murder the child.
Yeah.
So it never occurred to me, like, okay, Lex and Lola are their own pack. They literally spend all their time together.
Yeah.
So when they come around other dogs, they're naturally going to, like, kind of buddy up together.
It's us against them.
It's us against them. Yeah, you can't just, your dog can't live 8 years in an apartment only ever seeing you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a new person shows up and you expect them to just accept that.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to freak.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of goes to show you how important it is to, like, socialize your animals. Well, your dog specifically. A cat's just a fucking cat, but...
Yeah, a cat's just a cat. And not that I have anything wrong with cats. I love cats. Especially if it's like a nice, sweet, cuddly cat.
Yeah.
But some cats are just...
fucking assholes.
Fucking assholes. Because...
little demons.
It's basically like a lion, but it weighs 5 pounds.
Yeah. It's still a fucking cat. It's like, there's no... You can say what you want to. The cats are not domesticated.
No.
The only reason that cat doesn't kill you is because you're larger than that cat.
Yeah. If it could kill you,
it would
kill you.
It would kill you. Well, it's like you hear, like, these stories, like, people, like, dying in their apartments. They got all these cats, and then, like, people show up days later and the cats are eating the person that's dead. Like,
It's because it's a cat.
It's a cat.
And it didn't love you.
Yeah.
Like, a cat will show you affection if, like, you feed it and it has water and it has, like, an outlet to, like, climb and scratch things and a place to shit, and you clean that shit up.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't have that, it's going to be a psychopath.
Exactly.
It's just going to go back to, cat nature.
Exactly. Well, it's like you could take probably mostly any cat. There are some cats. Like, I don't think that Paisley... I don't think you just toss Paisley out in the wilderness.
No, she wouldn't last. She wouldn't last.
But, like, I don't think you could have... I don't think that you could have taken Buddy and put him... Be like, here you go. Like, just figure it out.
Out in the wild.
Yeah, out in the wild. Like, he was totally dependent on somebody giving him food and a place to sleep.
Yeah. It's like with Lex and Lola. They couldn't do it.
No.
They're just too soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the slightest thing gives them severe gastrointestinal distress. Oh my God. It's like Lola was the first one that kicked all this puking shit off the other night. Like around like midnight, you wake up because you hear...
Oh, that sound will wake you up out of a dead sleep.
Oh yeah, like right out of REM sleep.
Like, right.
Yeah. And so Mary by the time we woke up, me and Mary were like, oh, fuck, we're like scrambling to get up out of the bed. And like Lola gets to the edge of the bed and she pukes off the edge of the bed, but it hits the bed frame.
Oh, no.
And then goes everywhere.
Ugh.
Like some of it got on the mattress that wasn't protected by the mattress protector. And it got on our bed frame has got cloth around it, so it got in that.
No.
And it got in the carpet, and it was like brown puke.
Ugh.
So at like 12:30 a.m., we're like scrubbing the carpet with like carpet cleaner, just like kind of half asleep. Just the joys of being a dog owner.
That's the worst. Dog puke's the fucking worst.
It is. Dogs are nasty, man.
They are. They're fucking gross.
They're fucking gross. Because they're dogs.
Yeah.
It's like as cute as they are and as much as you love them, every now and then they'll remind you.
Yeah. I'm a dog.
I'm a dog. You're like, oh, my dog is so sweet and she's so smart. And you take her for a walk and you catch her eating a turd.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're a dog.
Oh, yeah, you're a dog. Look at that. You're sniffing roadkill.
Oh, man.
It's sort of like the other day I took Ruthie for a run with me. And so, like, I'm running, like, down, like, into the next neighborhood. And, like, I see it coming up. I see there's roadkill on the side, like, the side of the road, just kind of, like, off to the side.
Yeah.
And, I first of all, I can smell it. I see all the flies buzzing around it.
If you're smelling it, she's been smelling it for a while.
Exactly. So, like, I'm trying to get her on the other side of me.
Yeah.
So... Like, as we're, like, running by, she's, like, craning her neck. trying to get at it. So I'm, like, running and, like, jerking the leash, trying to get her to, then, like, it's like, fucking come here.
She's fighting her instincts with every fiber of her being.
And I'm already tired. I'm not enjoying this at all.
She's like, it's calling to me. I need to go roll around.
Of course, like, I look over and it's like a cat.
Yeah.
And the cat's, like, bloated. It's like bloated. The mouth is like hanging open. It's like,
yeah, it's just like very like roadkill is so. Some of it's like, you know, like you see like a dead deer on the side of the road. You're like, oh, there's a dead deer.
Yeah.
But sometimes he's splattered like across a mile. Like I don't know what.
Ugh.
He got hit by like Freddy Krueger or something. You're driving by like, oh my god.
Like, you ever seen, there's like an old Facebook meme where it's like that dead raccoon on the side of the road.
Somebody painted the line over it.
Well, there's another one where somebody went and got like a balloon that says "Get better soon" or something like that. And, like, tied it to his
Oh man.
Oh god.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Me and Wesley have been discussing. We're going to make a good, earnest, honest attempt to have a larger social media presence because that's really our only option now to grow the podcast because we have been sucked into oblivion and we have both requested reviews of the account and have got no response.
No. Yeah, so essentially what that means for people that don't know is that probably about a year and a half ago, like kind of sort of when the podcast first started out, we were able to take some of the posts and everything from our Facebook group and then kind of, they call them boosting the post or whatever, where I guess like you could pay a little bit.
Like the audience.
Yeah, you could pay a little bit of money and then you kind of get like, I guess like your post or something get put into feeds, like people's feeds and everything like that. And then, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. Like Facebook kind of refuses to let us know.
They won't tell us what happened.
Yeah, they won't tell us what happened. But essentially, like they've said that we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, we're not allowed to boost posts. So this is going to be a footwork, boots on the ground effort. So if you haven't followed us on Twitter yet, go follow us there. We're going to kind of branch out to a bunch of different social media platforms. I have been training myself on how to use Twitter. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I have. So I'm going to try and post there and try and kind of keep like consistency too, like across platforms. Like if whatever we post on Facebook, also post it on Twitter. And then of course get the YouTube page running up and just do different things there. And if you would like to help, share the podcast, leave a like, a rating, and a review on your preferred podcast platform. Yeah, it's just and if you want stickers, and you want to put some stickers out and about, reach out to us and we'll get those to you. But yeah, just thanks again for the continued support. We were looking at our numbers yesterday. We're at yesterday when I looked, we're at 1,903 downloads. Okay. Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that our episodes have been downloaded that many times.
Yeah, I know. It's, we really came out of the gate strong. We were looking at the number of downloads that we had,
like 220 or something.
The first episode was like 220 downloads, but that's overall time. I don't know, when the first 7 days or whatever. And then we kind of, we've been kind of maintaining the same download numbers, within a 10 or 15, difference for about a year now.
Yeah.
Which is good. So we
have found our target audience.
Whoever's listening to us is continuing to listen.
Continues to listen.
And that's what you want.
Yep.
So to you people listening, thank you
so
very much.
Yes.
And whoever that is in Germany that's listening to us, thank you.
Yes, thank you as well.
Danke. But yeah. You have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope, just thank you for the continued support. Like Gary said, we're going to try to make a concerted effort to sort of have a more of a presence on social media.
The problem is that we have jobs and lives.
We got jobs and lives, but
I don't even really post that much on my personal account anymore.
No.
I'm just so wrapped up with other shit going on.
I guess I'll have to take some of the time that my company pays me to do their job and and have an online presence.
A little bit of embezzlement. A little bit of, was it wage theft or time theft?
Time theft.
Yeah. Oh, the dogs are barking. Oh, they know that we're in here now.
There's the alarm.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. We will see you on the next episode. I am going to release that video of the top, or not top, but our best moments or favorite moments. No. So that is going to be coming soon. I'm going to work on that as soon as we finish up here. So, yeah. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.